everyone, Jill Thomas here. One of the biggest but most often overlooked considerations when buying a condo is the association's rental restrictions. On this week's Monday Minute episode, I'm going to talk about condominiums and those rental restrictions. Now, if you've been thinking about buying a condo, the association's rental restrictions might be one of the biggest factors for you to consider. Often buyers assume, well, it's my place, so I should be able to use it as I please. But unfortunately and fortunately, that is not the case. Every association has its own rental restrictions. When you look at the multiple listing service listing, it will state two things. One, the minimum rental period, and then two, how often the unit can be rented in a calendar year. Let me go into this in a little bit more detail. First, the minimum rental period may be at least 1 month, 2 months, 6 months, or even a year. On Siesta Key, the condos tend to be a little bit more liberal, and there might be a minimum of a 3-night stay or 1 week. A unit can always be rented out for longer than the minimum period, but never for less. The second main point is how often it can be rented out in a calendar year. If a unit can be rented for a minimum of 1 month, do not assume it can be rented out up to 12 times a year. It might only be 2 or 3 times in a calendar year. Remember, each time it can be rented out for more than just 1 month. Now, these are the two main restrictions for any condo association, but some may have additional restrictions, and these are typically in place to discourage investors. One example is when you first buy the unit, you may have to own it for 1 or 2 years before renting it out. The second is there could be a cap on the number of units being rented out at any one time, so you may need to get on a waiting list before you can rent. There are pros and cons to having more strict and liberal rental restrictions, so you need to know what you would like to use the unit for, and then that will help determine what would work best for you. So for instance, if the rental restrictions are more liberal or loose, it allows for fantastic rental income. The unit can be rented out almost year-round because more people are willing to rent in the off-season, like the summer, for just a few nights or a week or two. But on the downside, it can be more transient, which means it's used more like a hotel, and the unit itself gets a little bit more beat up. Plus, most people don't want to live in their unit full-time if they have new neighbors every week. When the rental restrictions are more strict, it's nice because there's more pride in ownership because the residents are long-term, whether they're owners or tenants, and it's a really tight-knit community. But on the downside, there's less opportunity for rental income. It's more difficult to rent during the off-season for a month or longer. The longer the rental period has to be, the harder it is to rent outside of season. I hope this video helped you to understand a little bit more about condo associations and rental restrictions. It is really important for you to understand what an association allows, and then we can match that up with what your real estate goals are. Feel free to give me a call, email me, or text me if you have any questions or if I can help in any way. Jill Thomas with Berkshire Hathaway Home Services.